moving on, we would like to have one of our historical, soon-to-be retired historical committee members, I believe, Nick Roach, regarding some information about the AME Church Stabilization Project over off of Backton Hill Park Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Board, for hearing our request this evening. And thank you also to Carla Mudry for keeping the church on our collective minds via Chester County Ramblings. I'm sure many of the audience members have perused her writing. Also, thank you to the AME Church for their pledge to assist us, and thank you to them for being here this evening. So we'll get started. Here you can see, I'll go through a couple of images showing unfortunately, the deterioration of this church located on Backton Hill Road. It's an AME church. It was constructed circa 1830. And here you can see almost 110 years later, still standing strong, good roof on it, good walls on it. But, as we progress to the next slide and the following, here you can see even 50 years later, the roof is still in place. And because of that roof, the walls have been protected. The building still stands. And at this point, there's no real risk of any collapse. But the very next photo you'll see,
the land was deeded
either
1831 or 1832.
Sorry, thanks. The roof's gone. And so this picture here is what makes me wish that my family and I had moved here a decade ago, because I'd be here asking for a roof rather than for tuck pointing. As you can see, the roof in this image is gone.
Photo.
And then as soon as, I think it's 2020, in the next slide, you'll see that we've started to see plants growing in the walls and actually creating,
Not the first time.
along with freeze thaw, further degradation of all of the masonry, particularly in the rear of the building. Fortunately, we still have the primary facade that faces Backton Hill with its original gable, and so we need to act now. So moving on, the Historic Commission has contributed to the effort alongside the AME Church to prevent any major catastrophic losses in the way of taking down compromised trees that were located in close proximity to the church. So our primary focus was avoiding any major destruction that might have happened should a tree fall on the building. We've taken that down. I've split many a cord of wood and donated it to community members. And in doing so, we eliminated that risk. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention with gratitude all those similar types of efforts of clearing that the late Al Terrell, Mr. Baker, Fair, as well as not shown here, but Mr. Naring, all members of the Boy Scouts of America who have gone above and beyond the call of any citizen to keep the church in the state that it is today, where you can at least see it, and you can even see the gravestones that surround it in the graveyard. And speaking of which, if we could go to the next slide, one of my primary concerns in this case is that we have Civil War veterans buried in this churchyard directly adjacent to the building walls. And should these building walls collapse, these memorials are going to be buried under rubble, potentially never to be seen again. That's the concern that drives my effort with this church stabilization. Let's move on. We've done what we need to do in that we've gone and received multiple bids to perform the work. As you look at these bids, you'll notice that there is a pretty significant discrepancy, and I am going to speak to that. Our preferred contractor, listed here at $14,100 to tuck point all of the walls inside and out, as well as to stabilize with pressure-treated lumber the walls until additional restoration can take place. Right now, we're trying to stabilize. In the future, we hope to restore. So Anthony Verderame is our preferred contractor. Our preferred contractor, if you'll flip to the next slide, you'll see he has over 38 years of experience performing brick pointing and tuck pointing and masonry work throughout Delaware County. And I have spoken with references. In particular, he received a glowing reference from the gentleman in Narberth. Here's his quote. Jay from Narberth indicated that Anthony and his crew did amazing work on my home, and he'd recommend him to any of his friends or family. In addition, I spoke with Jay about the fact that Anthony was very low in his bid, and Jay said that's exactly how it came in with us. He was significantly lower. We decided to take the risk, and him taking that risk is our gain because, as you'll see in the next slides, the work that Anthony does is second to none, in my opinion, as a licensed architect. we can just kind of roll right through these. You'll see the way that he struck these. I believe this is a Wissahickon schist. It's a nice rock, Gneiss. And one of the things that I'd like to call everybody's attention to is the way that he focuses on driving the mortar to the face of the stone and striking for aesthetics the center part of that mortar. But the most important thing is that the mortar is flush with the stone, which prevents water infiltration, which means that it will stand the test of time. And we can just, there's a bunch of pictures. This is, by the way, these pictures, Jay was so satisfied with the work that he allowed me to come to his home and take these photographs myself. So I think that stands as a testament to the quality of work that Anthony does.
It's beautiful stonework.
And so we'll see some other photos shortly that demonstrate that not only does Anthony do private residences, he has worked for other historical organizations. This project in particular at Akahaking Preserve is similar stone to the stone that we'll be repairing at the church, both in look and in tuck pointing methodology. And so I think it's important that we see that and see the quality of work that he provides. And he also has experience with other religious institutions throughout the Delaware County. There's Christ Church in Media, PA. I guess that's Montgomery County. No, it's Delaware.
No, it's Delaware.
Correct me if I'm wrong. In addition, Reverend Martin, who's here with me today, the leader of Mount Zion, AME, has already pledged $3,000 to the restoration project. And at this point, our request of the East Whiteland Township Board of Supervisors is additional funding of $11,100 to bring our total to the $14,100 that Anthony has bid. In addition, I'll conclude by saying that Mount Zion has already expressed the willingness to contract with Anthony so that it will be a religious private institution contracting with a private licensed and insured contractor in Pennsylvania. That's it. Any questions?
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
A couple comments I would like to make at this point in time is that I'd like to point out that this summer we ended up having the historic marker ceremony on probably the hottest day of July that I think I've seen around here in a while. But it was a great ceremony. And I'll also point out there are actually 80 grave sites located in that location. And everyone's involvement, including the Historical Commission led by Jeff Dorr and Nick and everyone, including some of our residents, Carl Mudry, has kept this in the front of everyone's plate for a period of time for a worthy cause. And thanks everyone for that. Rich, Peter, any comments or questions?
I repeat what you said, and thank you, Nick, for spending your time and effort and expertise to this venture. And thanks for the members of the AME Church to contribute and to help out. We are, I'm sure, going to be very proud to help with this and make it happen.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Agreeing with both Scott and Rich, I agree with you too. I wish we could have only addressed this when there was still a roof on it, and hopefully the work we could do now can do a lot to preserve.
The goal is ultimately to get back there. Thank you.
Okay. So, Zach, you have a thought?
Yeah, more well, I'd echo. I mean, I think it's a great project and it's great work by everyone. I just wanted to make more of a procedural point. Since it's an expenditure of funds, this will have to show up on a future agenda. But it sounds like the board is supportive, so likely on a upcoming, maybe a budget meeting or a future regularly scheduled meeting to actually authorize the expense.
Yeah, I would think you'll see it on next month's agenda, and obviously I don't see any opposition at this point in time, but just following procedures.
Can we preliminarily do that and ratify next meeting, or just give indication of our consent now with the next official action next meeting?
Certainly, it sounds like you're supportive. We could talk about that maybe at the staff level. I don't know that I have a good answer for that, but there are times where we ratify things that have already occurred. So we can huddle up on that, and if that's a possibility, I think that's something we could do and kind of keep the ball rolling.
Where's Nick? What's the timing of him being able to start?
I think that we can probably get him started within a month once we have authorization. Yeah, ideally, we'd like to get him started before the depths of December, January. Not a good time to be tuck pointing.
This is really exciting. Period.
So the official word is will be on the next agenda for official vote. But again, you're seeing favoritism at this point in time, so act accordingly.